Good day, my listeners. Or should I say, democracy dispensers? It seems that might be our official title according to the description of the new armor. I'm just curious if the tales they tell the students are less or more believable than reality.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Did we get the black box? Fuck.
You have escaped death and earned us the opportunity to redeem this defeat.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Today, we're not only going to be talking about what Redacted Regiment brought to Helldivers, but also some of the changes that happened in the spotlight and behind the scenes, with some deeper comparisons and some personal opinions here and there. So without wasting time, let's have a general overview of what's in Redacted Regiment. This pact brought us 3 new weapons, the R-72 Censor, the AR-59 Suppressor, and the P-32 RE-Educator. We also got 3 new armors, one of which being in the Superstore. The 2 light armors are the Shadow Paragon and the Sanctioner, with the Sanctioner being the one in the Superstore. We also got a medium armor set in the form of Null Cipher. All these armors have the new stealth passive Reduced Signature. This is being hailed as the new best stealth passive to date. But don't worry, we're going to go into this one deeper soon. Grenade wise, we have the Lure Mine, and even though it's not in the pact, it's featured in the Superstore alongside it, the Impact Smoke Grenade. We also got a new booster in the form of Concealed Insertion, and last but certainly not least, we have the new Stratagem, the C4 pack. Now before we go into deeper detail about all those things, it's important we talk about the changes that came with the release of this Warbond in the form of buffs and nerfs. So let's start with some of the biggest, most impactful changes, which is the adjustments made to suppressed weapons. All suppressed weapons received a change to their audible distance, going from what used to be about 36 meters down to 15 meters or so. Now for my testing, I did get some variation. Sometimes I was able to push that 15 meters down to 13 or so, but 15 is where I had a success rate of 100%. Also, bullets fired from weapons with suppressors no longer cause enemies to go from passive to instantly hostile when nearly hit. Guards will still look in the direction of the shot, and patrols will investigate the direction as well, but they will no longer immediately sound the alarm unless they were directly hit. This change is universal to all suppressed weapons, so that means that the ODST weapons got this change as well. Finally. This means officially the quietest weapon in the game is no longer the P2 Peacemaker. That title rightfully goes to the suppressed weapons now available. The only thing quieter being melee weapons, of course, remaining silent as of this update. Now there is one special case we'll get to later, but I'm not sure if this is due to a glitch or not, so we'll get there when we get there. We now move on to armor changes. All armors receive nerfs to their detection distances, and this is mostly due to the introduction of Reduced Signature. To explain this properly, I have to give you the values for the Reduced Signature passive, so here they are. While wearing the new stealth armor sets with the Reduced Signature passive, you will be undetectable from 15 meters out while prone, 25 meters out while crouching, and 30 meters out while standing. Now for those of you who are more practiced in stealth, you may recognize these numbers to some extent, and that's because it mostly resembles the old Scout passive, with the only difference being the crouching detection distance being 5 meters further than the old Scout armors. Now because the Reduced Signature passive is mostly adopting the old Scout numbers, every other armor had to have their detection distances nerfed to compensate for that, so here's how that lines up. While wearing Scout armors, you will be undetectable from 18 to 19 meters out while prone, 27 to 28 meters while crouching, and 35 to 36 meters while standing. And in every other armor, you will be undetectable from 25 to 26 meters while prone, 39 to 40 meters while crouching, and 50 to 51 meters while standing. Now, as always, I didn't crack open any files to find these numbers. These were all done on the clearest day that I could find through repeated drops in the different armors over and over again. So there might be a meter or two of distance, but I'm actively using these numbers to stealth around now, so I'm very confident in them, and if any changes happen, of course I'll update it just like the Stealth Handbook. Now for my personal opinion. While I'm stoked about the suppressed weapon changes, I'm a bit disappointed about the armor ones specifically. I'm still personally using the Scout armor, and while these changes haven't made a noticeable difference in my gameplay aside from the new crouching distance, it puts a bit of a bad taste in my mouth knowing that my preferred armor, and by extension my playstyle, suffered because they didn't want to make different numbers for this new passive. Maybe they made these changes because they thought further reducing the detection range by like an extra 2 meters would be too powerful for the passive, but regardless it does feel like a lazy adjustment in my opinion. Or maybe I'm just coping. I also know a good bit of people that absolutely adore the ODST armor while viewing it as another pseudo stealth option, and knowing that they're also suffering from these changes because not only the most powerful part of their passive was stolen, but there's also now a 100-meter radius of detection distance that they have to worry about. I'm in the ballpark nowadays that I think the ODST passive needs a rework at a minimum, but maybe that's just me. So that's all the changes that I'm aware of pertaining to stealth that Redacted Regiment brought to the table. So now we can talk about the things in the Warbond itself, starting with the R-72 Censor. This is your suppressed marksman rifle. It shares very similar stats with the Diligence, so much so that it deals the same damage and has the same penetration values. The main differences between the two being that the Censor has a lower magazine capacity, lower recoil, and a higher fire rate. Next up, we have the suppressed light pen assault rifle, the AR-59 Suppressor. Now, while compared to its main rival, the ODST SMG, it seems to fall short in basically every department. But the main advantage that this weapon has, along with the Censor, is that they're both fully customizable. So, after some leveling and gunsmithing, this weapon can match or exceed what the ODST SMG is capable of doing in certain circumstances. Out of these two primary weapons, the Censor is definitely my favorite pick and will be my go-to suppressed weapon from here on, or as I dub them, my salt and pepper shaker. You're telling me it's got high damage, it's accurate, spammable, with a healthy ammo reserve? Yeah, go on and count me in. The last weapon we have is the P-35 RE-Educator, and this weapon is the special case I mentioned earlier. Now, it fires gas needles, 6 in each magazine, and it has 2 spare, and the gas inflicts the status effect that you're already familiar with. It causes confusion and damage over time against enemies. Now, the reason this weapon is a special case is because it is oddly effective in stealth, even more so than the suppressed weapons in my testing, but it doesn't share all the traits that the suppressed weapons now have. For example, it doesn't have the benefit of near misses not causing an enemy to go instantly hostile. Upon a needle flying past, guards will shoot directly where you shot from, or patrols will instantly call for reinforcements, just like unsuppressed weapons. However, it seems like the shots of the RE-Educator can only be detected from 7 to 8 meters or closer, basically half of the distance of the new suppressed weapons. And while the general rule of stealth takedowns has always been you don't have to kill the enemy in one shot, they just have to go down quickly, they seem to be exceptionally forgiving from the shots of the RE-Educator, sometimes even shooting at the diver that shot them, but not detecting them technically, so not setting off an alarm. I can only assume this is because of the confusion effect from the gas. Once again, I'm not sure if this is intended or not, but as it stands right now, with the RE-Educator's ability to one-shot troopers, two-shot headshot devastators, and even take out Shriders by hitting their missiles, it makes it one of the better sidearms to have with you for stealth. Not to mention that the confusion effects from the gas makes it a pretty good escape tool. I'm very interested to see if this was intended or not, but for now, it is a very good option for stealth. Next up, let's talk about the armors, the Shadow Paragon and the Null Cipher from the Warbond, and from the Superstore, the Sanctioner. Thankfully, these armors are really easy to talk about. The Shadow Paragon and Sanctioner are both on the lightest side of light armors, having a 50 armor rating, 550 speed, and 125 stamina regen, while the Null Cipher is your medium armor set having baseline 100 armor, 500 speed, and 100 stamina. All these armors have the reduced signature passive, making it so you make 50% less noise when moving while reducing the visual detection range by 40%. Since we already talked about the visual detection range, the only thing left to talk about is the reduced noise while moving. Long story short, this is just copy-pasted from the ODST armor, and part of the reason I'm saying that the ODST armor really needs a rework. It makes you dead silent. Nothing more, nothing less. I had one instance in all my testing that an enemy reacted to my sprinting behind them, but that was the only exception. Then we have our grenades. To get the simple one out the way, in the Superstore for 300 super credits is an impact smoke grenade. This basically has the same functionality as an existing smoke, it just explodes on impact. It's a nicety, but it's not necessary in my opinion. I promise you, if the smoke grenade has served you well in the past, it will continue to do so now. And as someone who grinds for their super credits, it's gonna be a no, especially when it's priced at nearly a third of a Warbond. Then we have the Lure Mine. As the name suggests, it's an anti-personnel mine that lures enemies over to it. Now on the explosive side of the spectrum, it's a little lackluster. It goes off of a proximity sensor, meaning that if one enemy gets too close to it, it explodes immediately, and that doesn't really give much time for many enemies to gather around it before it explodes. Also, it suffers a bit against ranged enemies because ranged enemies will never get close enough to set off the proxy trigger unless they choose to melee it. This usually means that a melee unit will go up to the mine and set it off, but because ranged units will already be sitting a safe enough distance away from the mine, they won't die from the explosion. And as we know, in stealth, if an enemy takes damage and doesn't die shortly after, they set off the alarm, making this kind of suffer in stealth sometimes, unless you are able to follow up on the distraction of course, which may not be possible depending on what the mine attracts. That being said, while the explosion may be lackluster, the distraction it makes is amazing, especially while being chased. This mine, when deployed, leads to most enemies completely disengaging from the diver in preference to trying to destroy the mine, meaning if you could throw this into an elevated position where enemies can't set off the proxy trigger, they'll just lock in on that noise and completely forget you exist until it blows off. And seeing how the mine is sticky as well, this makes this very easy to accomplish. Personally, I think this mine is in a pretty good place. I feel like it would be better if it had an adjustable timer like the dynamite instead of a proxy trigger, or maybe if it just had a larger blast radius, but with some creativity this could be a really good tool. I'm already thinking of trying to pair this up with maybe like the EMS strike to try and extend the stun/distraction power that this tool already has. Then we have the booster that came with this Warbond, Concealed Insertion. While simple, the effects are actually pretty potent. This makes it so every Hellpod called into a mission comes with a smokescreen. This can be for reinforcements, resupply, support weapons, or even mission stratagems like hell bombs, giving some very welcome concealment. It has about the same size as a normal smoke grenade, maybe a little bit smaller, and while yes, you could replicate the effects of this booster by bringing your own smoke grenades, there are certainly worse boosters to bring with you, and also I haven't met anyone who said no to more smoke on Super Helldive, so it's a solid pick. Then lastly, we have the item I was most excited for, which is the C4 pack Stratagem. This stratagem is both a pack and a support weapon, with your pack carrying 6 bricks plus 1 in your hand, and the weapon being the detonator. You can switch between deploying and detonating the C4 with the expanded menu, which is done by holding the reload button, at least on controller. You can fully restock your C4 by either using a pack from a resupply pod, or you can get 1 brick back per ammo pack you find on the ground during a mission. As far as I know, there are no limits on how much C4 you can place at one time, and they can be blown up from any distance. Placing the C4 is also completely silent from my testing. Now I've heard reports of the whole host client side thing being an issue again, like it was with throwing knives, but I never encountered this personally. Looking a bit deeper into the stats of the C4, it has an armor piercing rating of 7, meaning it can do its full damage to just about everything in the game. It also does 2000 damage, so even with a demo force of 30, it can still kill most things in 1 to 2 bricks of C4. That demo force of 30, however, means it's incapable of taking down larger targets such as Bile Titan Nest or radar jammers. Also, stacking multiple C4 on the same target will not lead to a higher demolition force. Now, my initial opinion of the C4 is that it has its place on our roster. It's a way to put down multiple instances of high damage in stealth and detonate them from not only a distance that would keep you safe, but also maintain your stealth on your timing. That is something that is completely unique to the C4. That being said, at the price of your backpack slot and support weapon, and the fact that there are some very uncanny similarities to some of the other support weapons, I think it starts falling short when you examine it further. So, at this point, I've gone over all the changes that were made to stealth that I'm aware of, alongside everything that was released with Redacted Regiment, including the things that came into the Superstore. and as someone who actively loves the playstyle and plays it consistently, I'm hoping that adds some merit to my findings, knowing that this came from someone who really cares about this, and I will of course correct myself if wrong and when updates come. Now, I'm going to make a bit of an executive decision here, because technically I'm only on page 5 of my 10-page script. The problem is that the other 5 pages are me overanalyzing the hell out of C4, so probably doesn't really have a place in this video. Overall though, I'm relatively pleased with the Redacted Regiment Warbond. It added some cool new weapons, including a very powerful needle gun apparently, and the tools that we got access to like the Lure Mine, Impact Smoke Nades, and C4, even though I definitely ripped into it a little bit like I said with this script, are all cool additions that I'm going to use from time to time. And while I'm not pleased with the armor changes, I'm just happy to have more stealth armor in general. That all being said, to me the best changes were the buffs to the suppressed weapons, which is a shame because that is a change that could have and should have happened without the introduction of the Warbond. And the Warbond itself also came with some negative ramifications, like the reduced signature passive. While it's the best full stealth passive now, it makes the ODST armor suffer further because of having the most powerful part of its passive essentially stolen. It also taking the numbers of the old scout passive made them have to adjust all the other armor numbers, making them slightly to moderately worse depending on your viewpoint. My closing thoughts are this. If you have the ODST pack already and armor with the scout passive, you are completely set up for stealth gameplay and all the benefits that come with it without Redacted Regiment. I know this because I am actively still using the scout passive and still disappearing like it's no one's business with the old school smokes. So if you had another Warbond on your mind, don't feel too pressured to get this one at least until they update it. And if you're worried about not having the tools in the pack, know that there are plenty of ways to replicate their effects with what's available for free or in prior packs that you may already have. Remember, we've been doing this stealth stuff since before they thought it was possible. We got creative before, we can do it again. Stay warm, stay safe, and until next time y'all.